Hello everyone, this is Gorax. In today's video we will cover the new Chaos Shadow boss Necrosis, who is vulnerable to the fire damage. We'll go over both Wild and Burn teams, free-to-play and spenders alike, as well as low artifact and no mythic equipment teams that can do over 22 million damage to get the max rewards. If you're looking for other bosses that are covered, you can find them all in a spreadsheet and different YouTube videos as well. The spreadsheet will be in the comment section in a pinned message, so everyone will have access to it. Before we start, let's talk quickly about the Psychicore, because that's quite important to be able to reflect the damage. And this is it. I stopped here at the elemental damage. So if you have any of these nodes, tier 7 nodes available to you, that means your teams will do more damage than the ones added. And also, again, during this test, we're not going to use a single mythic equipment, which means, again, that your damage will go up if you were lucky enough to get mythic equipment. Now, let's start with the first team. First team, which is obviously going to be the highest team possible, like probably one of the strongest that you can bring to this boss. But before I touch that, before I go over this team, let's go over the boss skills, because there's currently an issue on a test server, and I'm not sure why any other content creator have not highlighted that in his videos yet, because I didn't hear about it until I started testing myself. So what we can see here is basically when the monster, which is the boss, has one or more buffs, decreases the damage taken by 20%. So we need to get rid of the buffs. Everything else is good. And then he here deals damage to the target and gains random buff. And same here, gains damage and deals damage and gains random buff. However, this damage is not working. Just look at this, okay? He's going to cast his first skill. He's not doing any damage. Okay, even when we put a hero without a shield, this hero will not get any damage done. And same with the second cast of the skill, no damage done to our heroes. And that's an issue. This skill should do at least a little bit of damage. So I'm expecting this to get changed once it goes live, but at the moment during the testing you will see that we don't really need to focus on the tank survivability. It's only the team damage, because the AoE skill, which is his ultimate, will still do damage. So the AoE skill, Wrath of the Revenge, yeah, this necrotic damage to all enemies. So again, placement doesn't really matter, but when the monster has one or more buffs, the damage dealt by the skill ignores shields, immortality, and invincibility. Okay, so that's why, again, bringing someone with buff removal is quite important. And luckily for us, there's quite a lot of heroes who can do it in the fire affinity. So let's go over the first team. 100 million Flora with an exclusive artifact. So let's go over the equipment quickly. So this is where obviously this is fully stacked team. The free-to-play teams will follow as well, so don't worry about that. You can also use the markers to move around. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use Victor as a tank with accuracy and haste. We want him to be on below 18-second rotation to maintain the dispel. We don't have anyone with recharge speed penalty, although Victor can apply that. So 18-second recharge at 18-second cooldown is good. That's what we want. Similar for our healer slash shielder slash damage dealer. Okay, we want this at before the ultimate, basically, to make sure we are shielding constantly. Tonalen with roots. We could even go for pipe organs. If you can afford pipe organs, you can go to boost Flora's attack. Eric will be the one applying, which is remain, but those two can swap around. Okay, you can definitely use either Eric with which is remain or Tonalen. Both work. Most damage will be coming from Flora with this new set. Based on enlightenment and attack. As you can see, no mythic equipment, 100 million damage, and this is it. So as I said, the ideal thing here will be putting Snarl at 17.5 and 18. Okay, that's what we want. This is the best outcome, but it's not mandatory. Even when I play him on default, he will do just as well, okay? Because we'll have heal, we'll have shields, we'll have everything. But just to recreate what I've done previously, let's go with this. The way you play Flora is you always cast her ultimate first, then you follow with Witch's Remain and someone with Wild to do damage. This boosts Flora's damage tremendously. And with Victor, we have buff prohibition, or, well, we have Dispel on his ultimate, conversion of buffs into debuffs. So we want to cast it at actually 14 seconds, okay? I realized that later that it takes a while for the boss to actually apply the buff, so we want 14 seconds here. And also, luckily for us, Victor has buff prohibition on his battle skill as well. So that's quite cool. He's really good. He's like the best hero you can bring here from all these supports. And as I said, this is like the best team you can bring. And let's just quickly play a fight to show you the mechanics, and we're gonna move to another team. So let's do a rotation here. So as you can see, we already have buff prohibition from the battle skill of Victor, so we don't really need to worry about that Dispel, right? We could do it in 12.5 and it worked just fine, but ideally you want to do it at 14, okay, just after the animation of the boss. And this is the only thing that will do damage to us, okay? As you can see, we absorb most of the damage through the shields, etc. But these battle skills, even when Victor doesn't have a shield, they don't do damage. Look at that, nothing. He's only getting damaged by the auto attack. So I'm assuming this will get changed and the damage will come, so it will be harder for our tank to survive. We'll see how hard, but it is what it is. At the moment, yeah, this team is doing a lot of damage. I mean, single target damage is working. But I also ran the exact same team, well, maybe not exact same team, because I only changed supports, which means the damage should be similar. We're only trying different supports here. And I also removed Flora's exclusive artifact, so we could see the damage for people who have Flora, but no exclusive artifact. And as you can see, the damage dropped to 55 million, which is quite big drop basically. Everything else is the same. We even use Jorn in the same exact equipment as Victor. And why we use Jorn is because he's he's dispelling the buffs on the enemy hero, as you can see here. And he also grants us a little bit of attack penalty, which we don't really worry with Scenaral, because Scenaral has 100% upkeep. Now the timings, the rotation is 18 seconds, as you know, but with Jorn's ability to steal the ultimate, we need to increase it to like 20 and a half will work as well, something like that. Okay, you need to work with it. And again, we'll definitely want it at 14 seconds instead of 13 and a half, and basically the rotation of our damage dealers is still the same, and Scenario at 17 and a half, as you can see here. So same idea here. When we fight, the rotation will be the same, and it's still working, still really nice damage even without the exclusive artifact. So if you have Flora, you're quite lucky. This will be like one of the highest damage you can do on this boss. Yes, as you can see, now we removed 2 buffs from the boss. So he's going to deal less damage, take less damage as well. Ideally, we could even move our rotation, because remember, when he has 2 debuffs, he's going to... 2 buffs. When he's got 2 buffs, he will take less damage. So we might as well do our rotation after Jorn's to make sure there's no buffs on the boss. But as you can see, even with Dispel, we don't Dispel that well. And that's basically the rotation. There's nothing spectacular happening on this boss compared to a few other bosses. Okay, that covers the Flora teams. Let's move into a Burn team that is high-end as well, as you can see here. Now, there's an interesting thing here. We don't really have a healer. We don't have designated here. We have Elminster. So we're basically relying on these low cooldown shields to survive the whole fight. We also use Garika. Again, we mostly want the buff prohibition here. That's all we really care. We're not really bothered about anything else. So the similar situation will be, we're gonna use Garika in the exact same equipment. We want her below 18 seconds to apply buff prohibition. We want the Ancestral Protection set to protect everyone else that's taking AoE damage. We have our damage dealers, Aschetius with an exclusive artifact, Durham and Carve, and Elminster with Elminster artifact to increase the duration of the shields. And the timing, again, we'll want... right, so we can't really... Actually, yeah, we can't really do buff prohibition here early in the first rotation, because we will only dispel one buff from the boss. We want to make sure the boss has no buffs. So if you have something like this, then you want to delay the ultimate of your hero to 23.5 just before the first skill. So this way you have buff prohibition for the whole duration. We can even do it at like 24, etc. Okay, so we want that. Default on our Elminster, he's not got enough haste to go below 18 seconds, so we might as well play it on default. And then our team, Carve as enabler, followed by Durham, and then we explode all the burn with Aschetius. So this is for those of you who have high-end burn teams. And obviously the supports, again, the supports are... You can change them. You can change them to whichever works, but I want to try and test as many supports as possible with different teams. Okay, this will help us to see if they work, if this actually works. And as you will see, okay, we go one buff on the first rotation. That's fine. That's what we expected. And now we're gonna cast this buff prohibition a little bit earlier. So yeah, someone's still in this debuff, so we'll definitely want to adjust it with Garika. Energy. So we want definitely to adjust this with Garika, because now the buff prohibition will be finished before this. So adjusting the timings is quite crucial, but I mean, with these timings, we still hit 46 million damage with no mythic equipment, so you can do better than me if you adjust everything to your own situation. Okay, and this is the idea behind these tests. So the next team we move to is a team without Aschetius, as you see here. I didn't go with Aschetius and no exclusive artifact, because we know it will do less damage than that. We could assume probably like half a damage as well, depending on the choice of artifacts you have. And then we go for this more, I would say, obtainable team. Okay, so we're not using any cleanse, by the way. We're not using any buff prohibition, any dispel, and we still do over 22 million damage, so it works. And equipment wise, we're still using quite beefy artifacts. I mean, if you've been playing in season 2, you should have, I know not everyone has access to those, but at least couple dupes, maybe one even, so you could put Witch's Remain, and you can use Burner instead of Hourglass. That will work just fine. In here we use 2 sets here. And I've done Adolphus dirty. I didn't do enough haste on Adolphus because I wanted to see if that works as well. Okay, I'll build Adolphus properly in the next team. But this is it. This is the equipment here. As you can see, no mythic equipment, and skill timings very similar. So yeah, we don't have below 18 second here. So we could go even Burner. If you have Hourglass and Burner, then you can put Hourglass on Isolde and Burner here, and this will work just fine. So as you can see here, this should be actually 18. So that's what we do here. The rotation is simple. We still start with Carve, then Durham, then Araces, and we shield before the AoE. We don't have any healing, but we want to do that. Oh no, okay, I know why it's 19. Okay, so we need to follow the rotation of Aschetius here, because we want to make sure Isolde casts her ultimate first, so she gives a small shield. And then by the end of the duration of the shield, we will use Adolphus' ultimate to also heal, because he heals when there's a shield on. And here's the fight with a crit damage aura. If you're struggling to survive, you might as well change into the defensive aura. But as I said, at the moment, there's no issues. The boss doesn't do too much damage to us, at least to our tank. So as you can see, we're shielding. Also, the placement is quite important. So I hope you had a good look, because this way you ensure Isolde is shielding everyone, because her ultimate is a little bit tricky. And yeah, no dispel on the boss, so the boss is taking a little bit less damage. and also deals more damage if he's got the attack buff, but we still are able to do over 22 million damage. So if you have two legendary, if you have the Carve and Durham, this is where you might look into running. But again, I think there will be better teams going down the road, and you can see this damage as well. So the next team, I've been asked to try Caspar. I'm not a fan of a Caspar. I think the other legendary wild heroes are better, but that's what I've done. And I also used Liko. So Liko's got buff prohibition on her ultimate, and she's got very good single target heal with a low cooldown, so she's very useful. She worked really well in Season 2 as well. And I put Garius in because we want some AoE healing to keep our backline alive on the ultimate of the boss. So this is what I've done here, okay? So I wanted to use Garius without the Gatekeeper staff. With Gatekeeper staff, it is just too easy, okay? So that's what I've done. I use Caspar, Eric, Tonalnen, and Liko. That's the equipment we have. Garius as a full tank, Liko as someone with burner to reduce the cooldown, as well as share defense to everyone around, huh? And the rotation here is similar to Flora, so you want Caspar ultimate to be first, then you follow with Witch's Remain Enabler, which is Eric in our case, and you finish off with Tonalnen. This helps Caspar to cast extra daggers and boost his damage. Again, 23.5 here. We could go with 24 as well to make sure we have this buff prohibition before the first two skills. And Garius on default. Since we don't have shield as a Gatekeeper staff, we don't have haste, so we're just going on default to heal whenever. And the rotation is really simple. I mean, this boss is simple. At this stage, it's all about dealing damage and surviving his AoE. So as you can see, we're gonna skip the first rotation. Okay, we got this ultimate here from Caspar. We have defense penalty, and then we have Tonalnen. So Tonalnen will eventually overtake Caspar because Tonalnen is just so good. And Liko will do buff prohibition here, similar to Garika. That's what we want. But with Liko, there is no one to slow down the boss, so this works perfectly. As you can see, two skills without buff prohibition, so we're safe, we can do damage and reap the benefits. Okay, so that team was able to do 34 million, but as I said, I don't like Caspar, I like Felicity better, and I've swapped Felicity here. I removed Liko and Garius. I went with different supports. As I said, the supports are making or breaking here, okay? They are the most important for this boss. Damage dealers, any will do, basically, on this boss. And yeah, Felicity as a Witch's Remain enabler, because she can cast Witch's Remain very often the way her passive works. So when she crits, she gains energy through the... When she crits with auto attack, she gains energy. So she can cast her ultimate quite often. Eric with Downpipe Organ, we could probably put something better here, but I wanted to try this as well. And Hourglass plus Elminster set here. Otherwise, everything is the same, no mythic equipment. Skill timing, as I said, it will be a little bit different. So we have Adolphus now with, again, not optimal set. You definitely, I think the better choice here will be to bring two haste sets, basically, making sure his cooldown is below 18, but it works, okay, so yeah. Again here, 14 seconds instead of 13.5, but with the buff prohibition from the battle skill, we don't need to worry much about that. The buff prohibition will be there most of the time. And the timing, yeah, so Felicity starts first. She's actually has quite quick ultimate, so we can follow with Tonalnen at 13 seconds, because we're not relying on Eric's applying, which is Remain. And the rotation, again, really, really simple. I mean, this boss is not tricky at all. So yeah, buff prohibition from the battle skill of Victor, Felicity, ultimate, everyone follows, we're doing damage. Then we dispel if by some chance we didn't apply buff prohibition before the buffs, and we shield, bang, we absorb the damage. And as you can see, the Felicity ultimate is almost up, while everyone else is like at 60%. So that's why we have a really good upkeep on Witch's Remain with enough accuracy. So her accuracy is like almost there, yeah, 264. So yeah, it's not bad. Now the next team is Burn, free-to-play team. Okay, so this is where I'm going to start using the free-to-play teams with free-to-play artifacts as well. By free-to-play, I mean I'm expecting you to have this. If not, if you didn't choose this, you have Elminster as well. Okay, but Tiara will work as well. So this is the equipment: Eyeball of the Giant, Crown instead of Witch's Remain, and we have Burner instead of Hourglass. I said those work, and as you can see, I'm using different support again, and I'm using Fira. The reason for that is she's got Dispel as well. Okay, so we have Dispel on this ultimate, so it will work in similar fashion, and she's also got buff prohibition on her battle skill. So she's another option for those of you who don't have this legendary heroes. Timings, we go with Beaks to apply Crown and Burn. We follow with Percival to boost attack of all burn allies, and we burn all the burn. We basically explode all the burn with Araces. Timing, since we're running haste now, as you can see, 17.7, we can reduce this to 16.5. And we go with 18-second rotation to make sure we always absorb. However, the main issue here is we don't have attack penalty. So once we get to the last minute, the boss is doing a lot of damage. And as you can see, we're at 14 seconds. So the boss will eventually kill our rare heroes as their base stats are lower. Which means we won't survive the 5 minutes. Well, our tank and healer will, but not the damage dealers. So the damage is lower than what we could expect because they're dying. So, you know, bringing in someone better than Finra will work, but we're still doing good damage. I mean, this is a burn team that is able to do 20 million. So with some mythic equipment, with even 1 or 2 mythic equipments, this damage will go up because mythic equipment makes a big change. So that's the team, that's the burn team if you want to play free-to-play burn team. However, I believe the wild team is the best to choose here, and I'm gonna play 3 variants of the wild team, but the core will be the same. So free-to-play wild team is all about Eric and Tonalnen. Okay, those will be your main damage dealers. You don't want to change them. You should have Eric. Depending on your luck, in Season 3, I would assume you have Tonalnen as well. If not, well, that's been unlucky. Adolphus is also a core, because Adolphus has a great shield. And we will use Nedda as a damage dealer and Liko as a buff prohibition. Okay, Liko was available through Season 1 Pillars or Feymander, not sure which one. So I would expect most of you to have it. And as you can see, I'm using 2 legendary artifacts only. This one is obtainable in Season 2. This one is a little bit harder, but Tiara will work as well. Okay, we don't really need the increased duration of the shield. I'm just using it for extra enlightenment to have bigger shield. We have defensive set on Liko, and we have 2 haste sets on Adolphus. Crown on Eric. And again, this is a really simple team. The casting, the timings are similar. Start with Eric, follow with Tonalnen and Nedda, and Liko to buff prohibit at 23.5 and shield on Adolphus on 18 seconds. But again, no attack down, which means we're gonna suffer at like 15 stacks, and we don't have aura as well. So this is why this team damage is a little bit lower than the next team that I'm going to show you. But it works. I mean, as long as we can do over 22 million as a free-to-play player, we should be happy. Okay, and again, even as a free-to-play player, you might be lucky enough to get a 1 or 2 good gloves, and if you put them on Tonalnen damage will skyrocket. She is a really amazing damage dealer. And yet the rotation is still basically the same, buff prohibition, and etc. There's nothing really changing here. Moving forward, we go to the next team, and I believe this is the best team you can run for free-to-play players. As I said, the core stays the same. We add in Follie. Follie has crit damage aura, which will boost everyone's damage. Equipment-wise, it is perfectly the same. We just basically put Nedda's equipment on Follie, and the timings are exactly the same, and the rotation is the same. Okay, so it's just changing one damage dealer to boost the damage of everyone else in the team, because that crit damage aura does help everyone in the team. And as you can see, there's really nothing changing with this boss, really. It's very simple boss. It's not like the dragon, the poison dragon, which is quite hard boss. I'm not gonna lie. But there's also another one that I want to try, and I heard that it's quite hard. Okay, so this is the team. And then the last team, I didn't put that here, but the team is able to do 28 million. So 28 million with this team. And again, the only change here is putting Bronwyn into the mix, similar to Follie and Nedda, and put in the same equipment. As you can see, everything is the same, timings are the same, and 28 million, again, getting you the max reward. So I hope this video will be useful to you. As you can see, we tried 10 different teams. We went for the high-end teams, and we lowered it to the free-to-play as well, and all of them can do 22 million damage. Here you'll need to boost a little bit of survival, removing maybe Finra with even Isolde will probably fix that issue. But if you have a better Psychicore than I do, or you have a mythic equipment, you will get over it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please click the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. As always, thank you for watching, stay safe, bye!